In this video, I want to introduce to you a simple rule that would help you to understand what's going on behind a lot of complex stuff in Tableau, whether it's table calculations or level of detail LOD calculations or any other advanced calculation. When something is not working the way you expect it to work in Tableau, this rule will really come in handy. So let's jump in. So let me recap the three fundamental ideas that I've already covered in the three videos in the basic series. The first one is that dimensions are nothing but text or date. And second video covered measures are nothing but numbers. So there are only two things when we are talking about reporting, numbers and text. They are called measures and dimensions in the BI world or the reporting world. And then the way to make sense of a large amount of information is the process of summarizing. So we have a technical name in the world of reporting that's called aggregation here. So for dimensions, we summarize by listing the unique values, and for numbers, the measures, we sum them up or use some other calculation like min, max or whatsoever. So those are the three fundamental ideas. Now I want to introduce the next fundamental idea called the level of detail or LOD. This is such an important concept when it comes to understanding how advanced calculations in not only in Tableau, in any other tool, how it works. So what really is level of detail? You might have even heard this term granularity if you are familiar with Ralph Kimball, or if you have been in the BI world for a very long time. So both are very complicated, very technical sounding words. So what do they really mean? Here is the definition of LOD as it is. The dimensions on the report define the level of details. But what does it mean? To really understand this at an intuitive level, let's use the help of Google Maps. So here I have United States displayed here. So let's assume I want to zoom into the next level. So I want to zoom into the level of a state, let's say California. So I click on this and Google Maps takes me inside. Now the rest of the details are hidden. Now I get more and more details about California itself. Now I want to further zoom in. So I click on a city itself. Now I've gone to the next level of detail. And if I want to really zoom out, all I have to do is just go back. For example, I go back here, I zoom back to the state level, and then I go back. Now I'm back at the country level itself. So as I zoom in, I see more and more details, state, city, street, etc. As I zoom out, I see a big picture, summarized picture with less details. Let's apply these ideas to a report. So if I go here and look at, for example, this report, where I have the same information. So let me collapse this. So I have now country levels sales information. Now what I want to do, I want to go to the next level state. Here, for example, California only is displayed. And then I want to go to the next level, the city itself. Now I am able to see San Francisco. So as I add each dimension, for example, it is giving me more and more detail. As I remove each dimension, this is giving me less and less detail. So adding a dimension means I'm zooming in to get more details. Removing a dimension means I'm zooming out to get a summary. So let's see LOD on a Tableau map itself. So here is the same map here with the same information. So here the city is displayed. The level of detail here is at the city level itself. But if I collapse this, so that means for each city you get one mark or one dot in the map here, right? So each of these cities, for example, in California, we can see there's so many cities, each one with its own. But if I collapse this to be at the level of a state, now each state gets one dot, right? And then I can further zoom out, and then I can see the whole country as one dot or one mark in right? So as I drill down, I get more and more marks as I add more and more level of detail. So that's what is happening here, right? So you get one dot or one cell if you're looking at a table per the lowest dimension on the report. That's what it is. So let's quickly recap LOD. The dimensions on the report define the level of detail. Visualize Google Map each time you think of LOD. That would help you to understand what's going on. The more the dimensions, the more detail or more granular you get. The less dimensions, the less granular you get. Yeah. So this is the outside view, but I want you to also understand the insider view. What really is happening at the database level? For example, So when we are talking of this Google Map zooming in and out, how is database interpreting this level of detail? As I put a new dimension on the report, how does database really interpret this? Let's try to understand this. So the best way to understand something complicated like this LOD is to do it yourself. Like in anything to really understand, we have to do it ourselves. But let's take a very simple example here. Let's take a very simple report, just the department wise salary, and that also comes from this dummy data, for example this data, and employee master with just 10 records. So now what we want to do, we want a department wise summary of the total salary. That's what we want to do. How would we do this in Excel itself, right? So let me start off by putting the title. So I want department and sum of salary. The first step is to get the, for each dimension, the process of aggregation is to list the unique values. So I want the unique values for this. So the best way to do that is, let me copy this over here and paste it first here, and then Excel has this nice function called remove duplicates that allows me to remove the duplicates. So now I have only 3 departments. So now for each of these departments, for example finance, I need to get the sum of salary. How do I do that? So first I go here, so I right click on this and I keep only finance. So that gives me now only the rows which belong to finance, and then I can select these 3 records, and Excel at the bottom here, it would show you the sum of the selected cells, 26,000. So now I can enter this number here, for example. So that's 26,000. So now I can clear the filters, apply the second one, for example. So let me do it in a different way. For example, I want a billing. So now that gives me another 3 rows, and I select this. That gives me 12,000, as you can see here, 12,000. So, and the same for the third one as well. So now we get 4 records. That gives me 37,000 here. So let's look at this report to see whether we got it right. So now this is sorted from the lowest to the highest. So let's go here and apply the sorting lowest to the highest. So we got these values. Yeah, simple. So simple report, we are able to reproduce this. So what did we do? Let's consciously reflect on a step-by-step process. For each dimension, first we have listed the unique values. Now for each cell, for example, we started with this cell, salary cell for billing. So we took the value of the dimension and used it as a filter to filter out the rows. So we got only a few rows. And then what we do, once the rows are filters, then we apply the calculation. Here it is sum. For example, I select this. Excel is showing me 3/4 possible ways to summarize: average, count, and even sum, right? So we can, those are the aggregation functions we can do. So what's the golden rule of aggregation? So first, for each cell and mark, find the filters, apply the filters, then do the calculation really. So that's all the golden rule is, right? So it is about first finding the filters, then doing the calculation. So let me spend some time to help you properly understand filters here. So what are the filters here, for example, in this report? So we have country, we have state, and we have city. So if I look at this highlighted cell, what are the filters here? So country is equal to United States, state is equal to California, and city is equal to San Francisco. So let's go to the superstore sales itself. So let's filter it by country. There's only United States here. So let me filter by the state, which is California, and then let me keep only San Francisco here. So that gives me 510 records here, as you can see here. And then if I click on this column, sales column, and you can see the total value here, which is 112,669, which is the value which is displayed here. Yeah. And then what about here? So what are the filters for this selected cell, this 10,006? So here the state is equal to Arizona and category is equal to office supplies. So let's remove the filters here. So let's filter on the state Arizona. So let's keep only Arizona, and then we wanted what, office supplies as the category. So now we have about 127 records, and then I click on sales again, and then we see this value 10,005.8, which is summarized as 10,006 here. Yeah. So again, another report. This one just shows the state itself, just Arizona as a state. There's only one dimension here. And then what's the difference between these two, right? So here we have state level, here we have state, then further broken down by its category. The only difference is there's one more level of detail, right? So what's really happening is, as I add more dimension, I'm adding more filters. And as I remove dimensions, I'm clearing out filters. This is what database is really doing. For each cell, there is a set of context filters that apply, that is based on what is the dimensions that are affecting that cell. For example, in this example, it is only department. In this example, for example, we have both the state as well as category, which is affecting this cell. So that's what is happening. So if we can simply translate the role played by a dimension as adding just one more filter, and level of detail as how many filters does the database have to apply to actually calculate the value that you are really looking at. That's what golden rule is. For each cell, find the filters, meaning use the level of details, apply filters one by one, then you do the calculation, for example, sum. And the same thing works on charts too. Instead of cells, let's look at each mark. For example, here, so we have this bar chart, which is displaying category, subcategory, and then by broken down by year, the sales, and the highlighted one here is for office supplies and appliances. So let's go to the Excel. Let's clear the filters. So let's look at office supplies. And then we want subcategories appliances. This is here. So let me. So and then here we want order date itself. So we want only 2014. Is that the right one? Yes, 2014. And then let's look at this 23,241. That's what we have here. And that's the value which is displayed here. Yeah, it's exactly the same process. For each cell or each mark, find what dimensions are affecting it. We can use this word called context filters or filter context, whatever is making sense to you. And the same thing here. So here is a scatter plot which shows profit and sales, and I have highlighted one cell here. Here it is customer name and segment. So this means these two are the levels of detail, and I need to apply the segment filter and the customer filter, and then I can look at both profit and sales, sum of them, and then I will get this value. Yeah. So let's summarize the golden rule of aggregation. For each cell or mark, find the filters and then apply the filters. And then once you have the lesser number of rows, then do the calculation in itself. So if I want to summarize this in one line, this is filters, then calculation. Before I close off, I actually want to give due credit to the man who actually taught me this golden rule. Here is the man, Rob Colley. Here he is the inspiration for me to actually even start my company and get started in self-service analytics itself. He wrote this beautiful book called DAX Formulas for Power Pivot. This was the book I read, I think 3 or 4 years back, where he took this Power Pivot engine and then explained how things really work in the form of 3 golden rules. All I have done is to really take those concepts and then brought them to Tableau. If Rob was actually working or producing things for Tableau, there's no real job for me. He's a great teacher. Even if you're working on Tableau, I would really recommend you get this book. This book reads like a novel, and it's such a fantastic book actually. Rob is full of passion. He has a lot of attributes of a great teacher, and I want to take this moment to say thanks to Rob. So that's all in terms of the golden rule. So in the upcoming videos on table calculations, as well as at a later stage when we get into the details of how different complicated calculations work, I will keep referring back to this golden rule that would orient us to actually take a step-by-step approach to understanding complex calculation itself. See you in the next video.